Can you tell me the area of this trapezoid? Basically, it's just knowing your formulas, right? What's the formula for the area of a trapezoid?
Yeah, that's what I don't.
Area is base times height.
Well, area does equal base times height if you can make it into a rectangle. Maybe you know how to do that. I could do that for you if you wanted. But a lot of people just go, right? Maybe memorizing the formula is easier.
Area equals base 1 plus base 2.
This is the hardest formula you have to quote-unquote memorize. Over 2 times h. So our base 1 is either one of these. Doesn't matter. Base 1 and base 2. Okay? And here's our height, right? So you plug it in. Area equals, what's our base 1?
5.
Plus base 2, which is
4.
over 2 times our height, which is
3.
3. Do the math. 5 plus 4 is 9 divided by 2 is, well, we'll just leave it for now. What's 3 times 9, right? This is the same thing as 3 over 1. What's 3 times 9? 27. 2 times 1 is 27 over 2. Put it in decimal form, do whatever you want to it, I don't care. I'm just going to leave it like this because improper fractions are your friend. Nobody has time for division in decimals, okay? So I'm going to say this, units squared.
So area is units squared and perimeter is just units.
Yep. Because when you measure for perimeter, you're just using rulers, right? The perimeter of this desk is just length. It's 23 inches or whatever, right? We're not going to say inches squared. But when you've got the area, it's asking how many squares can you fit inside. So that's why it's squared, right? Okay, so that was our answer here. This is the hardest formula. All it is, really, is the average of the bases times the height, right? You know how to find an average? Add all the things together, right? Let's say this is your grade, okay? You got a 10, a 9, a 7, a 10, right? And you want to find your average, right? Well, your average is divided by the number of things. You had 4 grades. Add it all up, divide it by the number. Same thing here. We've got 2 bases, so we've got a 4 and a 5. Add them together and divide by the number of pieces. 2, right? You had 2 of them. That's all it is. The average of the bases times the height. Way easier than all that, right? Average of the bases times the height. Your other formulas aren't so bad, right? If I ask you for the area of a rectangle, you know how to do that.
Is that I kind of got screwed up on the formulas. I don't really know what's going on for this.
It's okay.
So like, is that just for a trapezoid?
Just for a trapezoid.
Okay. Can you show me the other ones?
Yeah, sure. So all of our quads, right? Let's list them out. We've got rectangles. These are all our quads. Rectangles. We've got squares. We've got parallelograms. We've got trapezoids, what we just did. We've got kites. And we've got rhombuses. Did I list them all? Yes, I did. Now this seems like a lot of formulas to memorize. We also have triangles, right? They're not really quads because they only have 3 sides, but you'll see what I'm getting at here. This seems like a lot to memorize until you realize that these 3 all have the same formula. Right? Base times height. Area of this square is going to be 3 times 3, right? Because that's what a square is. It has all equal sides, so it's going to be 9 units squared. Area of the rectangle is going to be base times height, 3 times 2, which is 6 units squared. This guy, base times height, parallelogram, 3 times 2 is 6 units squared. All the same formula. Trapezoid we just covered, right? That's the average of the bases. So for our trap, it's the average of the bases times the height. triangle, well, a triangle is just really half of a square, or half of a rectangle, right? So instead of the whole thing going to be base times height, it's half of it, so half base times height. The whole thing would be a square or a rectangle, so half of it's just half base times height. So we just knocked out 4 easy ones, right? And then a trapezoid's kind of weird. So we just got this guy and these 4. Base times height. Erasing now. 3, 2, 1. Cheyenne, you good? Okay. We did trapezoid, right? Now we've got kites and rhombuses. They're the same formula, guys. What's the formula? A equals half d1 d2. And you're asking, what is d? Well, I'll show you. Let's draw that figure. Again, same formula for a kite and a rhombus. I'm going to draw a kite right now, but this also works for a rhombus. I'll do that in a second. Your d's are the distance from your points. See how I drew a kite? It's a kite. It's a kite. It's a kite, right? I drew the lines to make it look like a kite. So D1, let's call that this guy, okay? And let's call this guy D2. That's it. It's half D1 times D2. So if I gave you something,
So we'll know what D1 and D2
I will
are.
give you both of those.
Okay.
You know what I mean? Like that's easy free points.
Just multiply them together and divide it by 2.
Yes. So if I gave you this, keep my colors consistent. Somebody destroyed my blue marker. And I tell you this is 3, and that this one is 5. The red is 5, the blue is 3, all the way across, okay? You would know that the formula is A equals half D1, which is this big guy. Doesn't matter, you can mix them up. 5. And the other one, which is 3. 15 divided by 2 is 7.5. Or you could just do lazy math, which is fractions. 15 divided by 2. 15 halves. 7.5.
So it doesn't matter either one.
Which one of these? Either or?
No, as far as like 7.5
Oh.
or 15 or.
Ain't nobody got time for decimals. If you want to do that because it makes you feel nice, because you learned that in 8th grade and they forced you to do that, cool. I don't know why they just don't teach you guys improper fractions. It's so much easier. And then you realize that fractions are just division, and then fractions are no longer scary. All right, so that's that. So the way I remember this formula, okay? A rectangle, what's the area of a rectangle? What's the formula?
Base times height.
Base times height, right? If we can turn this object into a rectangle, that's all that is. So watch what I'm going to do. I'm going to take these triangles, this one here and this one here, and I'm going to move them over here. Okay? So watch me do that. Watch me. Watch me. Moving that there. So I just moved this guy over there. Okay? Now I'm going to move this guy over there.
We don't need to know how to do this, do we?
It's an easy way to help you quote unquote memorize, okay? So now we've got this, it's a rectangle. Notice D1 did not change. What happened to D2? It got cut in half. So D1 is the same, and D2 got cut in half. Half D2. That's your formula, guys. A equals half D2 D1, or whatever you want to write it as, right? It doesn't matter the order. It's all multiplication. 2 times 3 times 4 is the same thing as 4 times 3 times 2.
We don't need to do this.
Right, no, you don't. But I like this one because it cuts D2 in half and it reminds me of R2-D2. Right, he gets cut in half by a lightsaber. Yeah. D2 gets cut in half. R2-D2. That's why I always do D2 in blue. And I always make this one D2. Yeah. I have better sound effects when I'm not exhausted, I promise. All right, so that's it, guys. Area equals, I'll write this one down, right? It's area equals half base times height, because it's half of a rectangle. These are all rectangles in their own way. These guys, well, they're rectangles, but you have to cut one of these guys in half to get there. Trapezoids, maybe it's easier to just memorize it. I can teach you how to make it into a rectangle, but I don't think we're interested in that. Base 1 plus base 2 divided by 2. times the height. For this guy. Those are your formulas, that's it. So we're going to have 4 of those questions. So I'm probably going to give you a triangle, a trapezoid, one of the kites or rhombuses, and one of these. Right? So that way you have to know all of them. But I'm not going to give you, one of each. It's a waste of time. This is my favorite one. All right. So that's area of quadrant triangle. Find the area of the regular polygon. That's a little bit more difficult. You only have one formula to memorize, which is nice, but it's a little more difficult. So the area of a regular polygon. Is this, and I'll show it to you after I draw a regular polygon. Regular polygon means, well, first of all, a polygon means anything with sides, no curves, and all of the sides are connected. So this is a polygon. This is not a polygon. It's not connected. This is not a polygon. Has curves. This is also not a polygon because it still has curves, right? But everything else is a polygon. A regular polygon means that all the sides are equal and all the angles are equal. A regular polygon. So if I tell you it's regular, you already know all the angles and the sides are equal. So I don't have to draw all that nonsense every single time. Okay? So this guy's regular. Let's not even waste time drawing that on there. So let me draw